Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special edition of the Process Tree Monthly webinar. It's an introduction to our new conditional logic feature. My name is Blake Bailey, and I will be your host for today, and I lead the customer success team here at Process Tree. During our roughly 45-minute webinar, we'll go through some of the basics of Process Tree very briefly today, and then we'll just go really deep into our new conditional logic feature, which obviously we're very excited to introduce to you. So Process Street is the simplest way to manage recurring workflows for your team. And using our system of templates and checklists, you can effectively store your institutional knowledge, collaboratively complete all of your most important tasks, record valuable data using forms, and automate your workflows with over 750 different integrations. Because our platform contains all of these exciting features, our clients report that Process Street saves them valuable time, enables consistent high-quality work, increases overall accountability, and helps them to onboard their new employees quickly and efficiently. Now, understandably, these benefits have made Process Street one of the highest rated services out there, with hundreds of extremely positive reviews on sites like Capterra and GetApp. All right, so let's get into exactly why people love Process Street so much and why they're about to love it a lot more with conditional logic by diving into my example organization. All right, everybody. So welcome to my example organization, Manhattan Management Company. We are currently in the sales folder of this organization. And this is actually a perfect place to be because it allows me to show you the very basics of Process Street. And that would be the system of what we call templates and checklists. So a template, let me go ahead and collapse these, and there's three of them here. There's the BANT sales qualification template, the business partnership due diligence template, and our client onboarding template. These are the three templates that we have in this folder. And a template is essentially the backbone of your process. Most people will call that something like an SOP. The analogy that I like to use is essentially the backbone of your process that you would say laminate and stick to your wall and just kind of look at when you need to figure out what you were going to do. And if you're going to make modifications to how you would do it, you're going to make modifications to that laminated piece of paper, relaminate it, and stick it back up. Now, Process Street lets you take that SOP a step further and actually make a usable checklist off of it. And in that analogy, that would be like you taking that paper off the wall, making a photocopy of it, and then taking a pen or a marker right to it and taking down all your notes and using it for a specific instance. So for example, with these particular templates, you can see that we have this client onboarding template, which is what we would do if we were to be onboarding a new client. Now, as you can see here, we've got a couple different instances of this already running, and those are checklists, and these are each of these blue cards here. And so we have essentially an instance for Google, where we're onboarding Google, we're onboarding Oracle, Amazon, Tesla, and Microsoft. And you can see very quickly from this view what things are done and not done. You can see, for example, that these two have nothing done, while these are almost done. And you can see that multiple people are assigned here, and there's due dates and other things set. Essentially, this allows you to really quickly get in and get working, and that's really the philosophy of Process Street, is to get you to get in and get working on all of your most important and relevant tasks and processes. So in that same spirit, Process Street developed a feature that was our #1 most requested feature ever, and that was conditional logic. Conditional logic is the ability to essentially build in if-then reasoning right into your processes. So all of your processes, no matter what you're doing, are going to go in multiple different directions. It's highly likely that that's going to happen, obvious. So in order to be able to handle those multiple different situations, conditional logic lets you essentially have different tasks show or not show as you need them based off of your form field selections. So let's actually take a second and jump into my first example here, our client onboarding template. This is my client onboarding template. It's essentially the basic set of steps that we would do if we were to be onboarding a client. And we're just so lucky at this moment to be onboarding Google. So I'll go ahead and go right into the Google checklist. So as we are going through and completing checklists, essentially as we are going through and onboarding Google, we're going to want to make sure that we're delivering them all of the appropriate things that they requested. Essentially, we want to make sure that for all the packages that they pick that we offer them, that they're going to get all of the things that they're paying us for. So in our case, they could be paying us for recruitment services, for strategy consultation, or maybe for IT consultation. They could pick one of those, or maybe we're just giving all of them to them. So say if it were recruitment services, what we can do is that when I select this, you'll see over on the left-hand side here that a set of tasks specific to the recruitment services are going to pop up. So watch. Ready? I'll click this. Boom, recruitment services right there. And let's just say that instead of that, it's strategy consultation. Well, in that case, I can actually type in strategy consultation, and then boom, here's all the strategy consultation tasks. Alternatively, I can do multiple. Here we go, recruitment, strategy, and let's say we do all of them, IT. As you can see, our process automatically adapted to our needs because it has conditional logic turned on. So what we can do now is actually jump in and see how we built this. To do that, what we're going to do is we're going to click on the button over here, the Edit Checklist Template button. It's the exact same thing as if you were to go right to the template and then click on Edit this template. Either way, you're going to go to the exact same place. All right, now we are in the template editor. So in here, typically what you're able to do is pretty much everything that you would do to build out a template. So you can put in all your different content items, essentially all the things that you want to do to provide the person who's running this checklist with information. So instructions on how to do things, form fields to record information for whomever is running this. And then of course, you're also able to control things like conditional logic. So to build conditional logic, there's two really important things that you need to have before you start actually building out your rules. First, you need to make sure that you have all of the tasks that you're going to actually involve in your conditional processes. So for example, in this case, those tasks would be our recruitment services tasks, our strategy consultation task, and our IT consultation tasks. Essentially, they're not always going to show up. They're only going to show up as we need them. So we want to make sure that we have those in there. Second, we want to make sure that we also have any form fields that we're going to use that are important to our conditional logic rules. In this case, those are our client package options. So we have a multi-choice form field, which you can select right here from the form field options. You can see multi-choice is right there. You can actually select any of the form field options here, except for file upload at the moment for conditional logic rules. So any other of those form fields work perfectly fine, and you can set criteria using those form fields. So in our case here, we use the multi-choice form field, which allows us to pick one package or maybe all of the packages. It's all up to us. And then we use that to decide which of the sets of tasks we want to show. Okay, now with the tasks that we want to conditionally show, the form fields that we're going to use to conditionally show them, let's actually go into building the rules. To do that, all we're going to do is click on the conditional logic button right up here in the header. All right, so welcome to the conditional logic window. If you guys are not on the Business Pro or Enterprise plans, this window will just give you some information about conditional logic and ask you to upgrade. If you are on our Business Pro or Enterprise plans, obviously this is something similar to what you will see, or it'll just be blank if you are on one of those plans and you have not created a rule yet. So let's actually show you how we built these rules. Right here at the top, what you're seeing here is 9 tasks in by default. Typically, obviously, when you get in here, it'll be 0 tasks in by default. So what this is saying to us is, obviously the recruitment service tasks, the strategy consultation tasks, and the IT consultation tasks, we don't really want those to show up when we first come into our checklist because we only want them to show up when that client has selected that appropriate package. Well, to allow us to essentially hide those tasks by default, what we'll do is we'll actually go right into here. We'll actually click on this little drop down here, and then you'll see a full listing of all of the tasks and headers from within our template. So what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and select all of those essentially sets of tasks or individual tasks that we want to select that we don't want to show when we first get into the checklist. In order to do that, you can actually select individual tasks just like that, or you can select entire groups of tasks by selecting the header right there. All right, now what we wanted to do is we want to actually build out the individual rules for our conditional logic. So in order to do that, all we have to do is click on the plus button here, or if it's brand new, you'll see add a new task. And in here, what you'll see is that you've got all of these different little drop downs. So what these let you do is first off decide what form field you're going to use for your rule. In this case, we have client package options like we picked from here. So it's going to pull them all from your template. Then you're going to choose a condition, which in this case we're going to use has any of, because this is a multi-choice form field, which means you could choose recruitment services only, or you could choose recruitment services and strategy consultation and IT consultation. And by using has any of, what we can do is that we can ensure that if it's just the only thing that's being picked, or if it's one of 3 things that are all being picked, it'll still count. Otherwise, we would have picked is exactly, in that case, only if it's the only thing being picked would it work. So because we have has any of this, we're going to go ahead and say we want to use recruitment services for this particular rule. Then we're going to show, you can either show or hide. In this case, of course, we're going to want to show these tasks as they're already hidden. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select the recruitment services, which again, we can just do by clicking on the header. All right. Now we did the exact same thing for both other scenarios. So the strategy consultation is going to show the strategy consultation tasks. IT consultation is going to show the IT consultation tasks. And since that's all we actually needed for this particular checklist, that's all we need to do. So I'll go ahead and click save. And once I've done that, and once I've made sure that I'm done with all my edits to this particular template, what I'm going to also want to do is go ahead and click on Save Changes right up here in the header. So Process Street keeps a draft of anything that you, essentially any edits that you make on your template, regardless of if you just close the window or click home or go somewhere else. It'll still be saved as a draft, but it won't push it live. Essentially, you won't be able to run a checklist off of this template or essentially this new version of this template, or just view it as is with all of your new edits until you click Save Changes. That'll push them live. Make sure you do that. I get a lot of really frantic messages with people who don't know that, who think that their 3 hours of edits are just gone forever. It's heartbreaking, but it's always nice to let them know that it's still there. All right, so we saved it. And since we had some checklists already running off of this template, we automatically asked it to go ahead and update those checklists as well with this new format. All right, so our checklist will now automatically adapt to our needs as we need it to by checking off different package options. And that is all thanks to conditional logic. Okay, so that's our first example, client onboarding. Let me go ahead and show you another example. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move out of this folder, and I'm going to go ahead and go on into our HR folder. So for us in hiring a new employee, and of course, at the very, very beginning of that process where they're still a candidate, we're going to want to make sure that we're following all of the appropriate tasks for whatever department that we are hiring them for. So for example, if we were hiring, say, Tom Brady, maybe I shouldn't have picked somebody in sports. There's going to be feelings about this. Okay, now that we are hiring Tom Brady, we can decide which department we are hiring Tom Brady for. So in the event that he is going to just be, a general hire, somebody coming in for admin or something along those lines, we can go ahead and select general. In that case, we're just going to conduct an interview. However, if, say, he's coming into our marketing department, well, in that case, we're going to have to not only conduct an interview, but also review his marketing portfolio, make sure all of his stuff is up to snuff. And finally, if, say, he's a development hire, well, in that case, we don't actually want to conduct a regular interview. We want to make sure that we're conducting a development interview. And we can actually move forward, go into that interview step. We can write all of our notes in here, and then we can make a decision on whether or not we would like him to essentially move forward from that interview. If it's a no, he doesn't do it quite right, so we'll go ahead and show the send to client email and end process task. And if it's a yes, well, in that case, we'll go ahead and contact his references. And what we can do here is actually have it set up so that until we have made an option, until we've made a selection on our references, say this is just a brand new checklist, then any other tasks will not show. And if we say no at this step, well, in that case, we'll show the send to client email and end process task. And if we actually do want to move forward from this particular step, we'll go ahead and select yes. And in that case, and only that case, will all of the employee onboarding tasks show. So in that case, essentially any automations or any other sort of things that we have set up here, say emails getting sent out from any of these tasks or other sort of really important things, that we want to make sure that they're not going to happen if we don't actually want to hire that person. Obviously, you don't want to send them their hiring offer letter if you're not going to actually take them on as a new employee. That would not be a good situation. And without conditional logic, there's a good chance that that might just happen. And without conditional logic, that will never happen because you would have had to have selected like 4 different form fields the wrong way to get to that point. All right, this example of conditional logic, and I'll show you exactly how we built this one. Obviously, you all that are listening likely have to hire somebody at some point. And with hiring anybody, there's lots of ways that it can go, whether or not it's a yes or a no is for one. And because of that, all of you that are listening right now can definitely use conditional logic. Okay, so we'll go right on into the template editor again. Alrighty, now again, the next thing that's important here is to make sure that we have those tasks that we would like to only show or hide in certain situations, which is realistically these, but it's also this entire batch as well. We're also going to hide these too, but we'll get into that. The other thing, of course, we want to make sure that we have are our form fields, and in this case, we have multiple, right? So at this stage, we have the different departments. We've got whether or not they passed this interview, whether or not they passed this interview, whether or not they passed the marketing review, whether or not the references check out, and pretty much we have all of these different ones, and this allows us to have all of these different little branching points in our checklist. Okay, since we have those two things, what we're going to want to do, of course, is go right on up to the conditional logic button. All right, now there's a reason why I don't start with this one. It's because it looks complicated, and it's not. This probably took me about, I don't know, 5 minutes tops to actually have to make it, because it's really, really simple. This one just has more rules than the last one. Okay, so first thing that you would want to do is hide any of the tasks that you don't want to show by default. So the way that you do that, of course, is right up here at the top. And then you're going to go ahead and select this, and you can see that we've pretty much hidden every single task except for the very first two. So I don't know if you noticed, it actually wasn't working 100% correctly when I first went in there. That's because I didn't start with a fresh checklist. But had I started with a fresh checklist, and every time that I do start with a fresh checklist, it will only have these two tasks showing. So it'll look like a very small checklist when I start. And then as I make my selections, essentially what kind of candidate are they? Do they pass one of these steps? Is going to show this or this? And then do they pass this? Is going to show this or all of these? Essentially, it's going to show only the appropriate tasks in the appropriate stages where we need them, and it's never going to show any of them before that point, and it's just going to grow out as we need it. And you can, by the way, do this even if your process is not conditional. As long as you have some sort of form field in there, you can actually fill it out and decide that you want to set a rule based off of essentially a form field having a value. So if a form field has any value, then you can show the next task. And that would allow you, for those of you that are sitting there and kind of hearing this, that would allow you to build out your checklist as you run through it, essentially only showing one task at a time, even if it's not conditional. If it is conditional, you can do it the way that I did it here. Otherwise, you can just do it the way that I just said. All right, so we hid these tasks by default to only show the first two. And then what we did is we built out each of these rules. And you already know how to do that, so I won't go through exactly how you built it. But form fields, options, we selected marketing in this case. If it is marketing, essentially for the department, we're going to conduct an interview, review marketing portfolio. Is development, conduct development interview. Is general, conduct interview. If the candidate passes this one is yes, contact references. If they pass this one is yes, contact references. That's the marketing and development. Did they pass the references is yes, well, we're going to go ahead and onboard them. And if it's a no in any of these cases, well, in that case, we're going to send them that same send to client email and end process task. By the way, that is the exact same send to client email and end process task for 3 different situations. And realistically, it's more than that because it can actually happen after both a development interview or after contacting references. So same task, multiple different situations, which means even though you've got about 6 different ways this could go, you only have to take care of one task. That's it. And if you are somebody who sets up Zaps as well, so using Zapier to set up automations, you can set up one Zap, one single Zap to send that declined email and end the process, and it will handle 6 different situations just like that, just because we have these conditional logic rules right here. Okay, cool. Now that these are built in here, we'll go ahead and click Save, and then we'll go ahead and click on Save Changes. And I'll go ahead and update those existing checklists that I have. Alrighty, now we have a hiring process that adapts to our candidates as we need. All right, so for our last example of conditional logic today, I would like to show you a support checklist that we would run for essentially any clients that have any issues, any questions. Essentially, they just need additional help with specific little topics. Our team is able to support them. And I'm speaking hypothetically from Manhattan Management Company, but this is actually a template that is originally based off of one of the templates that we created here in Client Success for Process Street. So similar template, a little bit different, but same idea, same sort of Zaps. All right, so this would be a client ticket response. and we're running it for Zappos. They have a question. Essentially, they're having some issues. They said, hey, we had some questions regarding our invoice. We feel like we're not paying you enough. Please let us triple our payment starting today. Thank you. Their CEO's name is Bob. It's probably not. In fact, I'm certain it's not, but okay. So in this particular case, as we did before, we're only showing the very first 2 tasks, right? We're not showing anything else in this checklist when you first start off. All right, now what we're able to do is we're able to choose what type of ticket this is. Okay, so we had some questions regarding our invoice. We feel like we're not paying enough. All right, well, in that case, it's likely a billing question. And I'm probably going to want to get sales involved. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is also a sales question. I can select as many of these as I want, similar to what I did before. By the way, I should also mention, I didn't mention this when I first came in here, but this text that you're seeing right here in this entire checklist overall was automatically generated from an integration with our help desk ticketing system. We're using Zendesk here as an example, but essentially Zendesk received this ticket from Bob and automatically, essentially through an integration, created a brand new checklist for us, named it Zappos, gave us the date that it was originally created, and then it actually pulled the text from that service, automatically filled out this form field for us, automatically assigned me right here, which sent me an email and gave me a link to come right on in here. So I never had to type any of this. Only thing I had to do was click a link, read this text, took me about 2 seconds, and then make a decision. This is a billing question and a sales question. And then all I had to do is type right here, say billing, sales, cool. And now I know what to do. Here's sales stuff, here's billing questions. And now if I have a Zap or another email, another sort of automation triggered off of one of these things, so say if it's a sales question, I check this off, I can have an integration that will automatically send an email to Bob with a response, or I can draft it. I can have lots of options here. It doesn't really matter. The whole point is realistically just to display to you that these different things, essentially the responses, only pulled up when they were relevant because I selected them here. That's all I had to do. And I have a massive amount of options open to me that are going to be relevant and specific to this specific scenario. And that is because of conditional logic. To show you how we built this one real quick here, what I'm going to do is go right into the template editor. Again, I have all the tasks, have the form field that I want to use, so I'll go into conditional logic one last time. And again, this is why I don't show this one first. 13 tasks hidden by default, aka all of them except for the first 2. And then I have all of the different responses for the if type of ticket. That's it. Essentially, I just said if type of ticket has any of this, show this, et cetera, all the way down. And then I've got another form field down here below. Essentially, if we're managing a technical issue for a client, we actually have a couple different other steps just to make sure that we're doing all the right things and nothing gets messed up. And we have essentially different conditions to be able to handle that too. All right, so when we built all of these out, we clicked save changes, updated our existing checklist, and then that's it. Now we have a system that allows us to come right on in here and realistically get a notification to come on in here. Whenever somebody messages our system, it will automatically pull in all the information we need. And then now because of conditional logic, we're going to be able to make very, very, very quick and easy decisions on what we have to do, pull up only the relevant information that we need, which of course is really useful for our new hires or for anybody else that isn't 100% familiar with this process, or even people that are. It means less thought processing that needs to be done because we already did it. Conditional logic did it for us. Alrighty. So that is the benefit of conditional logic. Just as common as essentially the fact that you have a repeating process, you have something that you need to do more than once. Just as common as that is out there, it's just as common that those things that you need to do are going to go in multiple different directions. So you're hiring a new employee, maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't work out, maybe you're hiring them for a specific department, maybe there's specific little things you need to do, maybe different changes specific to their background, etc. Maybe you are essentially offering different packages to clients, maybe you're doing whatever it might be. Essentially, whatever different ways that your processes can go, you can also plan for those now too, create a process for it, have it well managed, share it with whomever you want, and then become actionable with it and control it no matter which way it goes. And that is the beauty of conditional logic. All right, everybody, without further ado, First off, thank you everyone for taking the time to listen. I'm going to take a moment now to read through your questions and I will start answering. So first question here, Heba asked, so the then part only allows to show or hide tasks. Does it have the option to assign a task to a certain user? So within conditional logic itself, just the conditional logic feature itself, nothing else, it doesn't do anything with assigning people. However, what you were trying to have it do, Process Tree 100% allows. Let me show you how that would be done. For example, in our, let's see, I'll go back to the sales client onboarding template. I'll go right into edit this template. So in conditional logic, when you're building out these rules, there's nowhere in there for you to assign anybody or do anything like that. It's purely just whether or not you'd like to show or hide specific tasks based off of specific criteria. However, what you can do in Process Tree is that essentially you can go into any template, as you can see here. And if you go to an individual task on that template, you can click on Assign. And what this is going to do is that this is going to ensure that whoever you select here, whether it be a person or a group, is always going to be assigned to this same task every single time that you run a checklist off of this template. You know, if it's the same person, so if it's the same person from HR, for example, here, I think this person's name, this is Dana. If Dana is always the person who's going to collect the new client's info and is going to, you know, essentially choose the appropriate options and all of those things down the line, then if she's always the person who's going to do it, well, let's go ahead and pre-assign her here. We're going to do it right in the template, right on this task. And that way, every time we run this checklist, she's always going to get assigned to this task, which means no matter who runs it, no matter how it gets run, she's going to receive a notification that, hey, you're assigned to this, you got to work on it, come in here and work on it. And she'll just click a link, come right to this task, and be able to complete it. Also, those assignments mean that this particular task is going to show up in her inbox, which is right up here next to home, essentially somewhere that pulls in all of your assigned tasks and checklists from your entire organization, all in one place. Her assignment will show up right there. Now, what you can do here with conditional logic and with these assignments together is that you can set assignments on tasks, right? So we have these assignments here on these recruitment services tasks, these two assignments on strategy consultation, these two assignments on IT consultation. Because we are only showing these certain tasks when they are needed based off conditional logic. So for example, say new client comes in and they're just using, they're just getting strategy consultation. Well, in that case, because we selected strategy consultation and that essentially met the conditional logic rule, the strategy consultation tasks will show. And in that scenario, I, right here, will be automatically assigned to those tasks, which means I will get a notification to come in here and work on it. But the other people, the people from HR who are working in recruitment services, the people from IT who are working in the IT consultation, they're not going to receive any assignments because they weren't assigned, because their tasks didn't show up because we didn't need them. So only I will receive that notification. And that's because conditional logic allows us to essentially only show and hide only the specific tasks that we would like to show or respectively hide, and the assignments that come along with them. All right, next question. Okay, so then I have a question here. Can you use conditions on form fields besides the dropdown? 100%. So if we go right on into here, what I will actually show you is some other examples. So I just added in a new rule by clicking on the plus button here. And once I'm done, I'll show you. I'm going to remove it by clicking on the trash can. All right, so what I'm going to do, if I click on this select form field drop down here, you'll see this pulls in all of the form fields from across our entire template. Client name, client email, client package options, position, current candidates and pipeline, description, contact, whatever it might be. And these little symbols right here are actually telling you which type of form field this is. Give me 1 second. Let me actually open this up. As you can see, these are all of our different types of form fields that we can use. And then I'll actually open this one right back up again. So keep your eye right here. So you see forms. And then if I go back over here, you'll see I've got this little icon right here with a little pencil in it that matches up here to short text. This is a short text field. Essentially, these icons tell you what kind of field this is. So client package options is a multi-choice field, etc. So if we picked something that wasn't a drop-down or a multi-choice, where, you know, obviously in a drop-down or multi-choice, you're gonna be able to pull in the pre-written options from the actual form field. For things that don't have that, essentially for, say, a short text field, you actually have a short text field right here. And so you could say if client name is Bob, well, in that case, we're going to show the Bob is difficult tasks. Or if essentially if we want to change this out, we could do something different, client email. So with client email, we could say if it contains, and we could say something like Apple, we'll know that, if we're getting an email with the domain Apple or contains the word Apple, then it's going to trigger something. Essentially, we have to set whatever that would be. So we do have the ability to use any of the form fields from our template, except for the file upload form field, because there isn't really too much to do with that other than has file or does not have file at the moment. So pretty much every other form field works. So you can use any of the text fields, email, websites, so you can verify that it is, if it's a particular website, we can, show something, etc. And of course, you can also use the date field, all the other types of fields, short text, long text, all the things of that nature as well. Alrighty, so let's see here. So I have a question here. If you set up a Zap for a response email out of the process, will that email be captured in Zendesk as well? For those of you that are newer and this is sort of foreign to, I will break it down really quickly, but obviously for more advanced stuff on this, please reach out. We'll help. So Zap is essentially just an integration, with Process Street. So using a service called Zapier, which we're connected to, allows Process Street to get connected to over 1,000 different other services. Zendesk is one of them, essentially a help desk service. And the answer to that is yes. So if you set up a Zap for response email out of the process, essentially if you set up that you check off a task that sends an email, say for example, the send to client email, or maybe it's the welcome email or something along those lines, as long as you have configured it in Zendesk so that every time that an email gets sent, it is getting tracked, then yes, then yeah, it will capture it. And the specifics on that, obviously, reach out and we can talk through it. But generally, the answer is yes. Okay, so let's see here. If I add an additional task to one of my sections, for example, IT consulting from your first example, does that automatically get added to my conditions, or do I also need to update the rules every time I make a change? So our rules absolutely do adapt to your needs. So if you add an additional task to one of your sections, so say you have a section here under strategy consultation or IT consultation, it will add that automatically to your group of tasks. Let's actually test that before I say it. All right, IT consultation. Oh, I was wrong. It will not. So tasks underneath so essentially underneath a header, it doesn't want to just assume then that you do mean for it to do that. It does actually adapt for a lot of things. This particular one, I could see why it wouldn't, which is why I wanted to test it. But in this case, if you do add a task in after the fact, you will just want to come back in if you are using that header to select everything, because now it's essentially it's grown. So you just click on hello and that's it, done. Of course, you could also just do this. Unclick and then click it and then it'll be good too. Oh, so by the way, it does adapt to other things though. So say you have a conditional logic rule set up off of a form field and you change the form field name. The form field name will also change in the conditional logic rules. It'll adapt for that. It figures itself out. Say you have a dropdown, like here we added another package option, right? That package option will also show up in here. Obviously, you won't have a rule set off of it because it didn't exist yet or didn't exist before that point, but it will automatically show up in this little, essentially this options right here, dropdown. So it will figure that out. If you change this to clients package choices, this would change here to client package choices. So it does adapt to those things. And then obviously for everything else that you're not sure about, then yeah, you just want to make sure to go back in and check. Okay, so our good friend Arthur wrote in and said, if you have hidden tasks that are assigned to various users when the checklist starts, do they still get notified if the task is hidden? The answer is no. If you have a task that is hidden, so say because I hid these tasks or these ones or these ones, or realistically a lot of the other ones in some of my other checklists, any of the tasks that are hidden by default, those notifications essentially that would accompany an assignment, someone being assigned to a task on an active checklist, they will not get sent until those tasks show. So either A, if there's a condition that's going to be met and that's met and then they show, then they will receive a notification and their assignment and it'll show up in inbox and all the same normal stuff. And of course, if the condition is never met or if it's never supposed to be met, so essentially it's just a hidden task, it's not going to show because you're not meeting the right conditions, well, in that case, they're never going to receive an assignment because they didn't need to, which is wonderful. And so that is using the conditional logic feature to essentially get people to receive notifications about their assignments only as they need them and not before that point and not in any other scenarios. So I got a question here. Can you print a checklist with conditional logic? Yes, you can. So let's see here, a couple different things. You can print a template and you can print a checklist in Process Tree. So let me actually save these changes and I'll show you how to do both. Alrighty, so if you go to any template and then you click on more, you'll see right down here, you can print any template. And what that lets you do is that essentially lets you print out essentially just a very basic, straightforward, and essentially just blank version of that template, which is what a template is, of course. And as you can see here, it's just a printable version of your template, but they will not, obviously you can't have conditions on paper. Like you can't, I mean, I guess if you like tore a piece of paper off and then just kind of showed it wherever you want. Okay, I don't know, we're getting into like origami here. But so since you can't do that, obviously in this case with templates that have conditional logic, it's going to just show all of the tasks. But you can obviously print your templates and then use them as you need. And so if any checklist that you then run off of that template, so let's say, for example, we'll go right back and we'll go to Microsoft. So if you are in any checklist and you say you wanted a printout of this and you really wanted to essentially just take a version of with all the data in here, including only showing the appropriate tasks essentially for this particular case, you can print the checklist. This is printing the checklist right here. And what this will do is, like I said a second ago, where in a template you can't show conditional logic. Essentially, you're just going to print all the tasks. Obviously there's no conditions to meet. Well, with a checklist there is, because you already met them, because you already ran that checklist, you already filled it out, and you already selected all of the form fields, at least in this case, to show the IT consultation tasks, essentially the conditional tasks for this checklist. And because we did that, it's only going to show the appropriate task for this condition. So if you're printing a checklist, then yes, you can essentially print it with conditional logic in the way that you're only going to show the appropriate tasks that you actually need to show for that condition and no other ones. And this is what this would look like. And you can see here, you can see all the different form fields filled out, things checked off, etc., and also information about who did it and when. Very useful information. Alrighty, so I have another person here. If multiple people are assigned to a task, would I be able to see who completed the task? Yes, you will. So regardless of who's assigned, if you're interested in seeing who completed a task, you will only see the person who completes it, because really only one person can actually complete a task. So if we go into, let's go into this one right here, you can actually get info on essentially who does things. If you go into the task here, you can see, okay, updated by Blake Bailey 2 days ago. Essentially, Blake Bailey wrote this information in this form field 2 days ago. Same thing here. And then you can actually see who checked or unchecked this task when, even down to the specific minute. So who did it, did this, at what time. And this is the activity for this specific task on this specific checklist. Again, this is the specific information for these specific form fields as well. If I wanted, I could go here and see all of the activity for the entire checklist. Just like that. I could do the same thing for the entire template. I could do the same thing for the same, for the same user. I could do the same thing for the entire organization. If I go to the organization settings and go to activity, get what any kind of reports that I want. And again, as you can see here, it's telling me all of this information about, who, specifically me, did what, when, on what process. All this information right here, regardless of who is actually assigned. It could be 100 people assigned. If I'm the person who checks it off, I'm the person who's going to get, essentially it's going to be my information that says that I checked it off. Okay, so I have a question here. Do all webinars get recorded? I'd like to see one about using stop tasks. So we do have a webinar that we did previously that was about stop tasks, essentially. And what I'll do now is I'll actually just talk briefly about it. So I'll show it to you so that way you can see it. So we do have a recording that we did previously. It's just not up yet. So I can't show it to you. But what I will do instead, I'll do you one better. I'll actually provide you your own example of it right now. So stop tasks is actually the other Business Pro feature. So just like conditional logic, it's on the Business Pro and Enterprise plans. It's just another thing that essentially we use to expand your abilities inside of Process Street. So if we go into sales here, very, very good, very keen of you sort of noticing this. But I have actually put stop tasks on for pretty much every single one of my templates that I showed today, except for this one. So I'm not going to do this one. I will show you hiring because that one does have it. Okay. So what stop tasks does, and I don't know if you guys noticed this as we were sitting here, So let me actually go back here. I'm going to uncheck some of these things so that way let's kind of work through it. Okay, so select an option. All right, so again, this is how we're starting off this particular checklist. Pretty much just have the 2 tasks showing and nothing else. And once I select something else, now you can see all of these tasks are showing because I selected marketing. But if I go into here, I can't check this off. Well, that's because I have stop tasks turned on. As you can see, this little hand icon right here, that's stop tasks. So what stop tasks does is that it ensures that you complete this thing in order. So I check this one off, and now I can do this one, but I can't do this one. Stop tasks allows you to enforce the order of your checklist. So it's making sure that I do 2 before 3 and 3 before, in this case, 5. And that's because we have conditional logic turned on too. Essentially, it's going to skip some things, but this one before this one, and then this one before this one. That's it. And the other really cool thing here, I know that we talked a little bit about assignments sort of being variable based off of conditional logic, so only getting that assignment, when your task actually shows up. Well, in addition to that, stop tasks allows you to have other people assigned later on in the process. So if we continue to say yes to these different things, continue here, we say yes. And we keep going until we get to the task where we actually have people assigned. Well, now that we've said yes to these things and these tasks have shown, now this person will get her assignment, right? But these people have not yet. And the reason being is because we have stop tasks turned on. So now this particular task I could do something with. Now this one is on, and now she's gotten her assignment. I check this. Now this one's on. He's gotten his assignment. They're only going to show up when the task becomes available. And that's really useful in the example that, say, you have a process that's 30 steps long, and you are responsible for task number 30. Well, without stop tasks, if you were to run a checklist, or someone's going to run a checklist off of that process, off of that template, then because you're assigned to task number 30, you're going to receive essentially an assignment, a notification that you're assigned, the moment that checklist is run. However, tasks 1 through 29 still aren't done, and you depend on those to be done before you can start. Well, in that case, you're going to want to make sure that you put stop tasks on all of the other tasks. Essentially, that makes sure that everyone else that's assigned to every other task is going to get their assignments when they need to actually come in and work on their different tasks, and that includes you. So that way, when you receive your notification, you know it's because 1 through 29 are done, and it's time for you to finish up that process. That's stop tasks. The way that you turn those on, go into the template editor. Very, very easy. Pretty much all you have to do is you can go into an individual task, and you can click on Add Stop. You can remove it by clicking on Remove Stop. You can also click on the top task here, click on the bottom one, hold the Shift key, same thing you would do with your files. Select them all at once. Or, same thing with your files again, select this one, hold, if you're on a Mac, hold the Command key. If you're on a Windows, hold the Control key, and then select the tasks as you want, just like this. And then you can add stop to these ones only, not the other ones. Essentially, you can make these come out at batches. So you could do this one or this one. Doesn't really matter about the order, but you have to do this one, first, before these. So that's how you're able to essentially turn on, turn off stop tasks as you need. All right, let me see here. Okay, I get one more question here. See here, is exporting to PDF or Word part of Zapier, or is it there by default? Because I can only see export a CSV file. So what you're talking about there is that inside of any template, you can export all of your checklists that you've run off of that template as CSV, essentially as a spreadsheet file. So if we go right here, go to Overview, click Export to CSV, that's going to give you essentially a spreadsheet version of this, which you could also just go More and then Export Checklist as CSV. But if you would like to make a PDF of your template or of your checklist, you just go to Print This Template, or if you're on a checklist, then go to Print This Checklist, like I did earlier, and you can just save that particular file, essentially that printable version, as a PDF. You just change your print destination to PDF, and that's it. And essentially you can have a PDF version of your template or your checklist. Very, very easy. All right. So that is pretty much everything there today. That's pretty much all the time that we have in terms of questions. So obviously a couple of different things here. One, if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. Two, something that we are requesting from you guys. What we really, really want you to do is to write in and tell us how are you going to use conditional logic? What sort of things are you going to use it for? Is it your hiring process? Is it, is it your new client onboarding? Is it something that we've never even thought of? Because that's what we really want. We want to find out all of the different ways that you guys are going to put this into work. Also, if you guys don't have access to it yet and you'd like to try it out, reach out. You can get a free trial of Business Pro. Try it out, risk-free. See if you like it. See if you can, maybe some of those processes that you're talking about, some of the ones you might tell us about that you'd like to see with conditional logic. Well, you can try it out. You can actually put conditional logic right into those templates. Just let us know. You can email support@process.st. You can also go ahead and click on the help button there. Sorry, I had to move to be able to see it. You can click on the help button and then click on contact support to contact our support team. So please, please, please reach out. Let us know if you'd like to try the Business Pro or Enterprise plans. Essentially, if you'd like to try stop tasks, would you like to try conditional logic? Would you like to try adding a logo to your organization? Also a Business Pro and Enterprise feature. A couple of things are going to be coming out on that plan. Things like setting task permissions, like using approvals. Some really cool stuff also coming out on that plan too. So things to check out for sure. But again, if you want to at least just try out conditional logic feature, do reach out to us. And of course, whether or not you'd like to try it out or not, do at least give us some ideas of ways that you would use it or ways that you are going to use it, or maybe ways that you are currently using it. All right. Now, on behalf of customer success here at Process Street, I would like to thank all of you and let us know if you have any questions or if you'd like to try things out. Thank you so very much and have an absolutely wonderful day.